Welcome to the Wilkinson Files, an independent review of the findings of Dr. Sarah Wilkinson's report into the circumstances surrounding the closure of the Church of England's Independent Safeguarding Board, closed by its own Archbishop's Council after less than 3 years in operation. Over 6 episodes, each lasting less than 10 minutes, we will examine one aspect of Dr. Wilkinson's findings, one per day, each day, displaying on screen the relevant references to those paragraphs where you can read for yourself what she has said. We will be releasing one episode each day over the next 6 days. We will not be referencing any other documents other than Dr. Wilkinson's report, except where she herself has specifically referred to other information which is already out there in the public domain. Each episode has been prepared by a team with experience in safeguarding who have examined Dr. Wilkinson's report in great detail to extract key points and to summarise the considerable detail she has provided.
Hello, my name is Clive Billenness and I'm a lay member of the General Synod of the Church of England. I'm a certified auditor with almost 30 years professional experience of auditing, and I'm also a qualified project and risk manager. I'm also an elected member of the Archbishop's Council Audit Committee, representing the General Synod. This audit committee are supposed to have oversight of the Independent Safeguarding Board. And in this episode I will look briefly at what the report prepared by the independent barrister Dr. Sarah Wilkinson says about the creation of the ISB. For this reason, we have entitled this episode, In the Beginning. The numbers of the paragraphs in Dr. Wilkinson's report, which I'm referring to, will appear on the screen below. The ISB was conceived because of the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, ICSA, chaired by Professor Alexis Jay in 2020. At that time, Archbishop Justin Welby raised 2 questions: whether there should be a body to whom complaints could be made about the Church's safeguarding processes, and whether the National Director of Safeguarding should report to someone independent of the Church. Now, the Archbishop wanted these matters dealt with very quickly, since he felt that this would anticipate the likely recommendations from ICSA. So during September 2020, various opinions about how to proceed were expressed, and finally it was agreed that there should be a move towards more independence in safeguarding within the Church. In October 2020, a number of options were put forward for the creation of the ISB, with the structure of a new charity, a new organisation formed by a measure approved by the General Synod, or an interim body with only moral force, while other options were considered. Funding could either be directly from the Church Commissioners, which would need legislation, or via the Archbishop's Council, which would not. When the ICSA report was published, it did not recommend the creation of a new oversight body, but the decision was still taken to proceed to do so. And on the 19th of October, the House of Bishops also supported this decision. A project design was then obtained from a senior civil servant in November 2020, but was not pursued. We have never seen this, and we don't know why it was dropped. 4 options, including sub-options, were then put to the Archbishop's Council in December 2020. Number 1, create a body legally distinct from the Archbishop's Council, like, for example, Ofcom. A sub-option 1A, the Church's National Safeguarding Team would move to a new body, legally distinct from the Archbishop's Council. Option 2, a new organisation would take over most of the functions of the National Safeguarding Team, setting standards in safeguarding, a little like, for example, Ofsted. Option 3, a new board would be established which would effectively be a subcommittee of the Archbishop's Council itself. This would leave overall responsibility for safeguarding with the Archbishop's Council. and option 3 was the one chosen by the Archbishop's Council on an interim basis, while option 1 will be put in place by February 2022. If this plan had been pursued, an entirely independent safeguarding board would have been in place by February 2022. And in December 2020, the work to take this forward was delegated by the Secretary-General, Mr. William Nye, to the Director of Mission and Public Affairs, who had no significant background in safeguarding, but had to work to very tight time pressures to prepare a report for the General Synod meeting, which was scheduled for February 2021. Dr. Wilkinson's report details over pages that many difficulties were encountered. There was strongly expressed concern from the survivor community that progress towards a fully independent Phase 2 ISB would stall after Phase 1 was completed. There were also concerns expressed by someone referred to as senior staff to one bishop, but not shared with the Archbishop's Council or the House of Bishops, that the proposed structure was incompatible with the legal obligations of the Archbishop's Council as trustees, and so could not be truly independent. An informal online meeting of General Synod members was held on the 27th of February 2021 to discuss the proposals for the ISB, but there are no notes or records of what occurred at that meeting because it was regarded as informal, owing to COVID restrictions. It then took until January 2022 to recruit the 3 members of the ISB, after which work began in earnest. Dr. Wilkinson says in her report that the ISB was, in her opinion, not a separate association bound by contractual rules, because there were no contracts or rules in place between the ISB members, only between the individual members and the Archbishop's Council. So to sum up, Dr. Wilkinson concludes that there was great clarity about the legal status of the ISB. In addition, the use of the word independent in the title of the ISB caused confusion because no one was really certain how the independence of the ISB and the duties of the Archbishop's Council as charity trustees would interact with one another. Then there is the whole question of the project management of this initiative. Dr. Wilkinson blames the time pressures created by Archbishop Welby for what occurred. Now, as someone who has managed multi-million-pound projects and has also audited them, I consider this to be unfair. There are 3 pressures on all projects: time, quality and cost, and it's not unreasonable to try to achieve something quickly, but what this needs is a capable project team with adequate resources. Dr. Wilkinson observes that the project lead was inexperienced with the topic of safeguarding, and there is no reference in her report to any funding being provided to support the project to form the ISB during the critical first months. Dr. Wilkinson has recommended that as and when a fresh attempt is made to create a successor to the ISB, specialist consultancy assistance should be engaged and paid for to undertake the formation work. Today we have looked at the problems which occurred in trying to set up the ISB. In our next video, we'll consider what the consequences were of the differing perceptions of independence between the Archbishop's Council and the members of the ISB. So please come back tomorrow for The War of Independence.